Okay, so we are in March of 2021 and it's Tuesday. And typically on my channel on Tuesdays, I have been doing tarot content since I started doing full time content on this channel back in September. But I have decided it is time. Spirit has guided me that it is appropriate at this point in my journey to expand my offerings to the collective. So basically, today I decided to get on here and kind of buffer the blow for the rest of the month and just explain the channel update that I plan on doing. Now, this particular video is, like I said, just an introduction of what topics and things that you can expect going forward, the offerings that I'm going to have on this channel. Basically, I have had to do a lot of work, inner work, shadow work, and community work collectively with my spiritual family in the last couple of months going into this year. So a lot of this work has led me to the point where I started to recognize my own negative mindset, the lack mentality that was keeping me from really branching out and expanding my potential, because I had convinced myself that there is a particular rule and order and grind of how things are to be done, and that the only way you get to become successful in spiritual work on social media or YouTube or through the algorithms is by just constantly grinding and putting out the same content consistently and just showing up and getting those numbers. And I was doing that by pushing myself to put out tarot content, offer free readings, and it was really draining my energy, right? Because I was tapping into multiple different zodiac signs and using the elements and using tarot and oracle and crystals and all different divination tools that I've used for my personal practice, but I was taking these things that I developed internally and trying to push them externally so that I could meet my own expectation that was totally based in lack, that there would be some type of reward for grinding the way that people tell us we have to do in order to be successful on social media. So obviously that really didn't work, because what does resonate and what does make you successful in spiritual practice and tapping into and reaching out to the collective is being authentic and being vulnerable and showing your authenticity and your truth, right? And following what spirit guides you to do, which is what I'm doing right now by sharing the struggle that I am recognized in myself and how I'm actively trying to overcome it. Now, today I just finished a 30-day course that I've been doing on the Insight Timer app. If you're not familiar with Insight Timer, it is free. There are a lot of really amazing tools on this app. It's first and foremost a meditation app. So there's a timer and you can customize it. You can put background noise, you can set gongs and singing bowls and stuff. And that's really amazing. And I do use it for my yoga practice. But also, there are guided meditations available that teachers and spiritual leaders upload there. So I do use a lot of the guided meditations, especially to help me sleep at night. There's quite a few that I really recommend. One that is amazing, and I can't tell people enough about this, is one by Sarah Hall, and I listen to it every night. It's a deep healing guided meditation that uses angels. You call in your angelic guides, and they heal you while you sleep. Her voice is beautiful, and it puts me to sleep right away. And there are also tracks available if you're not interested in listening to a person. You can select, there are just ambient noises, there are binaural beats, there's all kinds of solfeggio frequencies, lots of different sound healing therapies that you can use. So there's got to be something for you, right? You can set them on repeat if it's not long enough. You can listen to one that's for an hour and then it'll turn off your phone after it's done. There's so many amazing settings on this app. You can even search for meditations based on the voice, if it's a male or a female voice. You can search if there's background music. It's so helpful. So again, I can't really recommend this app enough. It's helped me so much with my spiritual growth, and I use it multiple times a day, all day, every day. And I obviously have paid for the version that gives you access to a lot more features of the app, because I've been using this app for like well over 3 years. I really think this app helped me expand spiritually way faster than I was prepared to, because of just the type of offerings that I was able to have access to. Had I not had this app, it would have taken me a lot longer to sift through YouTube to find this stuff. But anyways, so I have been taking a course on this app, which I do believe is a paid feature, but it's totally worth it. And the course is a 30-day course offered by Sa D'Simone, who is another spiritual leader that I really, really have to recommend you check their stuff out. If not on the Insight Timer app, go on Instagram and follow them there. I'm obsessed with all of the Instagram stories that they put up in the IGTVs. They're constantly just synchronistic with things that are happening in my life, and that might resonate with you too. And so the course that I was taking was a 30-day course to shift you out of a scarcity mindset into an abundant mindset. So every day for 30 days, you log into the app and you listen to the next episode. Typically, the classes are between 10 and 15 minutes long, so it's really approachable. I mean, there are classes that are more in depth than that, but this one was really easy to access, and the topics were just amazing. Of course, like every day of this course, I would listen to the episode at the end of my day, and there was just something that absolutely resonate with exactly the experience I was having that day. And that was crazy to me. And I was feeling like I was divinely guided to do this course at this time in my life. And I felt that there really could not have been a coincidence for what I was experiencing and how it was lining up with what the content of each episode was about. So I today just finished this course, and one of the things that they said in the final episode that really just hit home with me was to pay attention to the people that you admire. And it is because there is something in them that you admire that is something that needs to be nurtured within yourself, that it is there. That is why you appreciate that person, because you resonate with them. There is something within you that can be brought out to mirror that person. So they're there to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. Now, this was really, the timing of it was really important because, like I said, I had been wanting to do an expansion of the content on this channel, and Spirit was guiding me that it was time to share and move past just doing tarot and past just doing private readings, and really try to connect with my soul family in a deeper way, right? Outside of offering advice and offering guidance, but really being vulnerable and sharing my experience so that people resonate with it. And if they do, then they don't feel alone. And the stuff that I'm dealing with and healing can help them. So, another thing that was really relevant in this episode that he talked about was how once we start to take hold of our own healing journey, once we start to take responsibility for showing up in the world in a healed way, in a better way, in the best version of ourselves, right? For example, once we start identifying and neutralizing lack mentality in our lives on the individual level, that energy starts to exponentially affect others around us, right? Once we stop participating in the victim mentality and looking at things like half full, and we start to feel grateful for everything, and we start to pay attention to where we are selling ourselves short, we show up in a better way, and then we inspire others, right? Because they see that we're doing this work. They are inspired, and also we're not projecting our fears and our insecurities and our lack onto others. We're taking responsibility for our own power. And it's radical. It changes things very dramatically for everyone around you. So I thought that was really poignant, and it definitely resonated with what I'm trying to do now with my spiritual practice as, you know, showing up and not just fitting a pattern or a formula, and just being myself and sharing my personal journey and reflecting, so that others may start to reflect and identify and recognize some things in themselves. And that is, it's a personal journey and it's personal healing, but we come together to do the work and to learn from each other too. It's so important. Now I started to identify the lack mentality in myself, how it was keeping me from reaching out to people, because I wanted to expand content on this channel and start really talking about spiritual topics and shadow work and like the difficult things that we're all healing and the lessons that we're all overcoming on a collective level. And I wanted to start talking to some of the people in my circles that, one, I really admire and appreciate their experiences, but I was struggling reaching out to people because I, was really not able to look at how I didn't feel like I was good enough, right? Like I didn't have enough clout. I don't have enough followers. Why would somebody give me their time? Why would they want to come on my channel and talk to me when I have no, other content to show them like what to expect? But this is the first step, right? This is a baby step. I have to show up for myself if I expect other people to show up for me. You have to be your own cheerleader first and foremost. That is something I know to be true. And so that's what I'm doing here right now, right? I know there are plenty of people who, if I ask, they would have no problem. They would be more than happy to come on my channel and talk to me. I'm my own worst enemy, and I have pushed myself back from reaching out to people because of this fear of rejection, that they're going to say no, or I'm going to have them on my channel and then it's going to be a disaster because I have no control over what these other people are going to say. Even though I totally trust these people and respect them and admire them, and I really would love to hear their thoughts on some of the spiritual topics that I'd like to get into. Like I said, it's my own mentality that is keeping me back from expanding this way. But this is accountability practice, right? So I'm reaching out through my reflective work and sharing that that's a struggle that I've experienced, and that I'm getting over it. I'm doing the work. I'm showing up and I'm processing it, and slowly but surely in my own time, I'll do it. And this is, like I said, the first step. And I guess what I want to kind of wrap up this episode with is the original topic that I want to speak on with myself, which is synchronicity. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of opinions, and feel free to leave comments below if you want to be on the channel and talk with me about your own experiences with synchronicity. Like, leave a comment below or reach out to me by email. Because yeah, I'd really love to hear how this shows up for other people in their lives. But for me, on my own personal journey, synchronicity is like the number one thing that got me into spiritual work and into waking up in general, because I I spent over a decade of my life doing accounting, and I basically, in my profession, am trained to look for patterns and look for similarities, right? That's what we do in accounting. We look for the differences. We pay attention to the number sequences, and then we are trained to spot things that stand out. So for years I did accounting work, and it really weighed heavily on me as a creative person, as a spiritual person, as a very left leaning political person. Doing accounting work was very difficult for my personal, internal ethical reasons. And, it was a constant struggle for me where I had this kind of compartmentalization of myself where I'm very capable and very good at accounting. And I think this has to do with my Capricorn rising, is that I am very responsible and I am very hardworking and I push myself, right? And I struggled for years with the structure and order of like corporate America, working a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, especially because my Pisces and Sagittarius side comes out where I love dancing, I love live music, and I love going to clubs and I love going to concerts. So constantly I'd be battling like staying out till 2, 3 in the morning dancing, and then having to get up and go to work at 8 a.m. and then sit at a desk and be bored out of my mind, right? So, yeah, that caused a huge split in my soul, right? This reality of having to show up and perform this like really monotonous, repetitive work that was very mundane, but I was really good at it and it was very lucrative. And then the sacrifice was that it was keeping me from feeling happy and embodied, and it didn't it didn't satisfy my inner artist. It didn't make me feel alive. So the dark night of the soul, I started to experience synchronicities, right? So I'd be doing accounting work and I'd start to see patterns and numbers that I couldn't explain. It didn't make any sense. I'd be doing like daily, register tills, and I'd be counting up like, you know, 17 different stores all across like the south part of America, and there'd be no explanation for why the register would come up, 333 short, or like there'd be the differences in the balances would end up being like $1.11, and I just couldn't wrap my brain around why these numbers in particular kept repeating. And those were just the obvious ones to me, right? Like I just started being like, huh, like, oh, 3 and 3 and 3, that's so funny. Then I would see like 9 and 9 and 9. And after a while, I started to, like, I went online and I started Googling, and I was like, what the hell are these numbers all about? Like, what does this mean? Because I'd start to see them out in the real world too, like, not just on the papers. I'd see license plates with like 888, and then I would be driving by a building And I would look and it would be 444 would be the number on the building. So I started like looking up like what these numbers were about, and started noticing them more and more. And it really freaked me the hell out because I was like, holy crap, like what is happening? And then that happened for like about a year, right? Over these numbers over and over before I even really understood what was happening. So synchronicity would show up in my life, right? In these ways, like these numbers in my work started to wake me up. And then in my waking life around, I would see numbers. And then it got deeper and deeper from there, right? Because once you start to pay attention, once spirit recognizes that you've been activated, right? That you are aware, not just awake, but aware. They they just flood you. They just you can't turn it off. Once you are there, you cannot go back. And it's so overwhelming, but also comforting. I would never want to go back to being asleep and not feeling connected to everything, not feeling these synchronicities, that there's meaning, that things are all connected. It's so, like I said, it's comforting, but it's also really necessary. It makes you feel like you're doing something right, like you're like these things are lining up for you now because you're you're right where you're supposed to be, if that makes sense. So yeah, synchronicity goes really deep for me. It's gotten to the point in my life where now I'll have experiences with other people that are synchronistic and they recognize it too. And the thing with the numbers, it's like I can't even tell you how many people I've started to help them wake up through that as well, you know. I would point it out to them and say, "Oh, did you see this? You know, they sent me something and it'd be exactly at 4:44." And I would point it out, and then they would start to tell me like, "Oh, 222, 1212," you know. And like I said, there are a number of synchronicities that are a lot more deep and complicated than just the repetitive numbers, you know, like the 333s and stuff. You'll start seeing 1212. 1111 is the one that is the biggest one, the spookiest one for sure. 1111, because it's the number of awakening. And so it's the most intense out of all of the messages I think I've ever seen in a number of synchronicities. But you know, there are other ones, and they all mean different things, and it's all going to mean different based on your own personal experience. But basically, like I started recognizing these other numbers like 342 and you know, like 589, and I started paying attention to like what are these other number combinations, the not as obvious ones. You know, sometimes I'll see 1234 or like 2323, but there's some other ones out there that are a little bit more complicated. Once you start paying attention to those, then you know you're like getting deeper and deeper signs. But specifically, I wanted to mention the 432 because it relates back to the insight timer topic that I mentioned earlier. The 432 number sequence, I started to see a lot. I also see like 234 and things like that, but that one really stood out to me. So I started Googling it, and I found out about the Schumann resonance, because this is the frequency that the Earth's magnetic field resonates at. And basically, this number sequence comes into my life to tell me that I need to ground myself. That I've done a lot of spiritual work and I've been receiving a lot of downloads, which are basically these codes, right? These numbers are activations to your subconscious that start to waken other things inside of you that are dormant, in your subconscious or unconscious, whatever, and in your DNA, some people like to refer to. Basically, Spirit's guiding me to like ground myself because I have to anchor this information in to my body. And the easiest and best way to do that is to harmonize yourself with the earth's frequency. So it goes back to the Insight Timer app topic, because I would go on Insight Timer and there are frequency healing music tracks that are at these 432 resonances. So what I did was I would start listening to these just all the time when I was at work, and I was just doing this like really fucking terrible soul sucking work. I would tap in to these frequencies and it started waking me up faster and faster. And it got to the point where, like, 2 or 3 years after that, Spirit's telling me, like, you have to quit your job. Like, you have to walk away. You have to take a leap of faith. Now's the time. Just do it. Like, just, you're meant to do something greater with your life than this. You are. And I was just getting these signs over and over. And like I said, it was the synchronicities, it was the timing, it was the numbers. And then it started showing up in music and songs. I was listening to just, like, random playlists while I'm working, and really pushing myself too hard, right? To be this responsible, hardworking accountant person who also has a really dedicated spiritual practice on the side. And yeah, the music just started telling me time and time again, like, it's now or never, just do it. And so I did. And it felt crazy. I felt like it didn't make any sense. I was really concerned about my financial stability. And I also, didn't really have a plan. I just knew I had to do it. I knew Spirit was asking me to do a leap of faith, and that there was a sacrifice that I had to make in order to really prove to myself that I was able to overcome this trapping that I had been stuck in for so long in my life, right? That I was no longer willing to abandon my true self and my happiness in order to complete and perform in a formula that I was told is the only way to be successful in your life, right? It's the only way you're going to make it, is that you have to fit into this box. And this is me again overcoming the same challenge, right? Showing up here, being myself, speaking my truth, helping others see how they can step into their own power in the same way. And if this resonates with you, if you find this information to be synchronistic at this point in your life, know that I am here, and I would totally love to hear your version of this story and how you're handling these synchronicities and signs from Spirit, and stepping into your own power and shifting out of lack mentality so that you can help spread this light as well to others. So hopefully you feel empowered by this message, and you know you're not alone, and you like this content. And if you do, if you could hit the like button, I would really appreciate that. If you haven't already subscribed, that would make a huge difference to me in this work, and make me feel like people care and that me showing up is important. And if you leave a comment below, I will absolutely respond to you, because I think that this is all connected and this is what we're supposed to do. And thank you for being part of it.